It's multifactorial, I think. Part of it is um, access to food. A lot of these places are what's called food deserts. So if you look at the percentage of open spaces and parks that are in these lower income neighborhoods, it's a lot less than the affluent neighborhoods. If you look at the percentage of healthy grocery stores, such as a Whole Foods or organic grocery store, something like that, you'll find a lot less in these neighborhoods. And if you look at restaurants too, the restaurants that they typically have are going to be your fast food restaurants, such as Burger King and McDonald's. And then also, if you're a low income family, you're just trying to make it through the day. You're not really trying to necessarily spend more or go farther away from your home to find something healthy. And unfortunately, it seems that fast food sometimes is cheaper than buying a quality meal at a restaurant. And if you're working 2 to 3 jobs, you just need to buy food for the kids. So you go to McDonald's, you got a Happy Meal, it's cheap, they got a toy, everybody's happy, right? But you're not really thinking about the long-term consequences of it. And then also too, I think that there's a mindset issue in lower income communities. I've worked as a primary care physician in communities like this before, and they tend to have a mindset that everyone in my family gets sick, everyone in my family um, takes a lot of different medications. So there seems to be a lack of hope, I think. And so when you're trying to get them to eat differently, that's more of a long term thing for someone to be able to adjust their present eating to have a long term benefit. They're just trying to get through the day and the week. So I think it's both of those things together. And one of the reasons why meat sometimes may seem cheaper or eating at fast foods may seem cheaper is because of subsidies. So the meat and dairy receive subsidies from the government. Now it's a whole system. It's a systematic thing that really points people towards eating meat and dairy. And as an unfortunate result of that, I believe it keeps people sick. I find that one thing that people can do is eat out less. Some may eat out, let's say, 3 times a week or 4 times a week, and they're eating at unhealthy places, so they could cut back and cook at home one more time a week instead of eating out as much as they normally do. So a lot of times when you eat out, the food is going to be salty and they put oil in it. So it's really not healthy. But if you're cooking and you're eating at home, it's definitely going to be better for you. And I also think introducing a meatless Monday type of concept or one vegan meal a day or a vegan meal per week or whatever the individual decides that they want to do, I think is a good start. And what you can buy really cheap is rice and beans. You can buy a can of beans for 80 cents, or if you want to buy them uncooked, it may be a dollar 50. You get more for your value. You can make that with rice, and then you can even buy frozen vegetables if you really are short on time and you don't want to buy fresh vegetables. So there's so many options for people.
For sure. So I guess for people who are wanting or considering transitioning, the thing about fast food and processed food is extremely, it's hyper palatable. So moving from extremely hyper palatable food, say from fried chicken and burgers, to beans is just such a huge switch in that sense. So how can people kind of move from burgers to beans and whole? Because for a person that's addicted to these foods, it's just going to be a huge task.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's important than what you said. Food addictions, that's a large portion of what we're dealing with, particularly with sugar as well. And then cheese. Cheese actually has been shown to have addictive properties similar to opioids and other drugs. So cheese is very difficult for people to stop eating. I think there's 2 ways that people can do it. I think it takes, I would say, if they really want to go fully plant based, the best way probably would be to do a 21-day challenge. So sort of do a 21 day or a month where they're going fully whole food plant based. That way they can kind of reset their taste buds because it really is a taste thing and you can train yourself to like different things. But if you're still eating it every now and then, I think it may be harder to fully make the switch. So that's what I would recommend for someone to do. A month. Okay, I'm just going to do this challenge. I'm going to see how I feel at the end of it. And then most times, what they will find is that after that month of eating clean, when they eat the processed food, it doesn't taste as good. It may taste too salty or too sweet or too sugary.
Yeah, I think it's an important concept because jumping between hyperpalatable foods and healthy foods that you might prepare at home, if you keep jumping in between, your taste buds never have the chance to adapt, which might make it a bit challenging. I wonder also. I want to dive into why fast food is so bad for us. So, if you could give us like a little rundown of what's inside, what does it cause, and what maybe are the socioeconomical consequences for a community.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Fast food has everything that's not good for you. The things that make you like the food: sugar, salt, and fat, particularly trans fat, saturated fat, and cholesterol. It's very high in that. So it's important to note that animal foods have cholesterol, whereas plant foods don't. And cholesterol, high cholesterol, is a risk factor for heart attack, stroke, and conditions like that. So eliminating dietary cholesterol, or at least reducing it, is going to be very, very important. And there's a thought that even eggs are healthy, but I don't think eggs are not healthy. They are high in cholesterol, and there are better sources of protein than using eggs. And so the cholesterol, the saturated fat, and then also the salts. If you look at the nutrition facts at these fast food restaurants, the amount of salt that they have in one meal sometimes is 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams, which really is what somebody should be getting in a whole day. A whole day. I don't eat at fast food restaurants anymore, but when I used to eat there every now and then, and I look at the nutrition facts and I say to myself, I can't eat this. This is not healthy. And then also the sugar. And sugar is something that's addictive as well, and it increases inflammation. Um, it can make you gain weight, and they put sugar in a lot of different things. So bacon is cured, and the way they prepare it, there's sugar in that, there's maple syrup in that, and there's sugar in the ketchup when you go to a regular restaurant. Pasta sauce has sugar in it. It's hidden in a lot of different foods that you don't think have it. And so your body gets all of these chemicals that are really toxic to you and create an environment of acidity and inflammation, which makes it harder for your body to fight disease. So it's important to eat foods that are going to help your body to decrease the risk of chronic disease and to be well. So that's where your fruit and your vegetables are going to come in: your antioxidants, your phytonutrients, your vitamins, your minerals, your fiber. All of those things you're only going to get in plant foods. And fiber is very, very important. There's no fiber in meat, cheese, eggs, dairy, any of that. And so, one thing that I see quite often as a hospital based physician is constipation. It seems that at least half of my patients, no matter what they're in the hospital for, at some time or another have constipation in the hospital, or they're coming in with it. So I use that opportunity to talk to people about fiber and tell them how many plant foods have fiber, how you need to eat at least 30 grams a day, and tell them about different foods that they can eat that have fiber in them, and which is going to be better for them, and that is going to lower your risk of colon cancer. Fiber can help you to lose weight. Fiber lowers your cholesterol. There's so many benefits to fiber, and there's so many benefits to everything in plant foods. There's really no reason to eat meat and dairy. There's really no reason. You can get enough protein, which is something that a lot of people are worried about. I get that question a lot. You can get all of your fiber, your vitamins. The only vitamin that you have to take on a plant-based diet across the board is vitamin B12, and you may need to take iron or vitamin D. But I have patients that are not vegan. Actually, most of my patients are not vegan, and they're iron deficient. They have B12 deficiency. They have vitamin D deficiency. So it's not necessarily even just a vegan thing. There are medications that impair the absorption of vitamin B12. So I do see vitamin B12 deficiency quite often. In the primary care setting, I did.
How much is the person in charge of their health as compared to relying on the system that might have its flaws?
Oh my goodness. That is a great question. Absolutely. The individual is absolutely in charge of their health, 100%. I remember when I was doing primary care, people would come into the office and they would be so proud of themselves because they made an appointment to see the doctor. They would say, "Doctor, I'm taking a hold of my health." And I said, "Let me make an appointment and come to see the doctor because I want to get healthy. So I want you to help me to get healthy." And I would just kind of laugh, but in my mind, I would think, okay, coming to the doctor is not what you do to get healthy necessarily. It's part of it, but the bigger part of it is what you're eating. If you think about it, a doctor's visit is 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes if it's a physical, maybe. But you eat 3 times a day. Let's say you eat, it takes you 30 minutes to eat. That's an hour and a half each day, at least. Between your snacks, we probably spend 2 hours a day with food in some way. That's a lot more than what you're spending in the doctor's office. So anytime you eat, you're either feeding or fighting disease. That's how I think of it when I buy and when I shop. And so that's probably the biggest message that I'm trying to get my patients and anyone that interacts with me to really understand, because everyone seems to think that it's genetic. The health care providers seem to think that. My colleagues say that. Even cholesterol, they don't even appreciate that cholesterol is dietary related. They say it's genetic, they prescribe a statin, and then that's the end of the story. But it's just not the case. And so I think it it actually empowers the individual, right? Because if you believe, it's interesting because it empowers the individual too. But then if you empower someone, it also makes you kind of feel like, well, maybe am I at fault? If I do get sick. So I think part of it is that people may actually feel more comfortable to say that it's genetic because that way it alleviates them from any responsibility. So they can eat whatever they want, they can do whatever they want because they're going to get sick anyway. That's the mindset. But if I'm changing the mindset and I'm saying that you hold the key that unlocks the door to good health, that's what I tell people. You hold the key. It kind of makes them responsible. It kind of puts the onus back on them instead of putting it on the provider. Because if you're not taking ownership of your health, it's very difficult, almost near impossible to become well. If you're putting the responsibility on your physician, your nutritionist, or someone else other than yourself, it's just not going to work. So, yes, absolutely. We hold the key that unlocks the door to good health.